Hello everyone and welcome to the Knitting Traditions podcast. My name is Inga and I'm a knitter, blogger, and designer based in Norway on the west coast. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope you enjoy this content where I talk about what I'm wearing, what I'm knitting on, and finished objects when I have them. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. As you might see, I'm in a new location. It's been some busy weeks. Me and my boyfriend moved. We bought our first house together and I have started to settle into my yarn room because we have more bedrooms than we need, so I got to decorate one into a knitting and podcasting and crafty room, which has room for all my yarn, so I could take it out of the storage room and start to organize it a little bit. I painted the wall, so I have one green wall which has like a textured surface. It's a special kind of paint that contains almost like some cement particles, so makes it gives it a structure when you kind of brush it on. I got a glass cabinet which I'm going to put a lot of my skeins into. I've started on the DK worsted middle shelf since we're in the fall going into winter season, and then I also have a plan of doing fingering on the lower shelf and sock yarn and unspun yarn on the top, and then I also have some yarn combs on top of that, if that's of any interest. So I sort my yarn by weight. I also have a built-in wardrobe in this room where I store all my other yarns, which are balls of yarns, commercial yarns, lots of different things. And I put up a shelf to just display some old antique carters that I got at an antique store, one of my favorite plants, and behind me is this wooden thing that was used at an old newspaper. So it's an antique shelving for putting the print letters for an old newspaper. This one I inherited from my mom again, who bought it at this antique sale from the newspaper. And I got my spinning wheel, which is mostly for show, and my comfy knitting chair with some yarn that I need to skein up. So yeah, that's my little knitting corner. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. I hope you are enjoying what you're knitting on, or maybe I can bring some inspiration today. I am enjoying a cup of coffee, or should I say a wine cooler of coffee. See if you can see this here. I received this lovely wine cooler from Knitswag. She contacted me and asked me if I would like to try. And I think she's already made the same thing for Tracy and, oh god, I know their names. The grocery girls.
Sorry.
I know your names. I just got off from work again, so I'm a bit tired. I started the day off with a C-section of twins. I work as a resident in OB/GYN. So this is a wine cooler that I was very generously gifted. It has my name on it, Inga, and I asked if she could make the colors in more my autumnal neutral colors, and she did, and it's lovely. So now I have a cup with my name on it that will keep my drinks either cool or warm for a longer amount of time. And her thing is that she's a graphic designer. I think that's what you call it. If you look up close, which is a bit hard to do on camera, but it looks like little knit stitches that creates this design that she makes. And I'm enjoying a almond coffee today. But it says in the warning to not put the lid on straight away so you don't burn yourself, so I didn't do that. So now I can have a beverage through the whole podcast, and let's see how long it takes. Alright, so let's get into the knitting because that's why we're here. This is an old test knit that I did when I still studied in Poland. That's where I got my medical degree. This is a pattern by Jennifer Steingass, or Knit Love Wool, and it's called Telja, and I test knit this using a different yarn than in the pattern. I believe I used a king coal yarn that I bought in Poland. I don't remember which kind of king coal, but it's a DK weight yarn, I think. I bought it because I loved the colors of this. It's a very nice rust, you could say, and I paired it with some mossy green and beige, and then dark brown, and then a more teal looking green. I don't wear this sweater that much. I love how it looks. I love the color yoke. I love the colors of the sweater, but I don't love the yarn. This is a yarn that I think must have quite a bit of acrylic content. I can feel it. It has like a little plasticky feeling. It looks beautiful, but when I wash it, it tends to grow a lot, even though I'm trying to be careful to dry it flat so it doesn't grow. That's one of the properties of non-superwash wool that I like so much, is that it doesn't tend to grow. Just be careful it doesn't felt, but I don't have problems with that. So the arms got way too long, the body got way too long after washing it. I did do a swatch before, but when you have a big garment, the weight of that stretches it more than a blocked swatch would, I think. Yeah. It's beautiful. I would knit it again, but I think I would knit it maybe in Letlupi, an Icelandic yarn. They have similar colors in that yarn. It would be less shiny than this one. I really do find this rust a stunning color. So I should wear it more, not to stay warm, but just to look nice in my knitwear, I guess. I do think it's a really beautiful, stunning design. Yes, so that is what I am wearing today. I don't think I have a finished object this time around, but I do have works in progress, and I do have a a sock project. But maybe we can start with this sweater. This sweater is a mohair sweater, a pattern called Vinter genser by Mohairias. She has a website, mohairias.no, and I know in the past, if people have contacted her, she has been willing to sell the pattern in English, because it is a Norwegian pattern. I bought this yarn from her at a knitting festival last fall. I already knit one in the colors recommended in the pattern, and then I bought these more autumnal ones, planning on making this autumnal version. And I think the plan is to gift this to my mother for Christmas, if I can separate myself from it. But I think she would look great in these colors. And it's a really nice and squishy sweater. It's super warm. It's knit on, I think it's 7mm needles. And the mohair yarn is African Expressions Love. See if you can see that. It's African Expressions Love. I'm sorry. I do need to have artificial lights because it is really dark outside, but I hope you can see at least I can tell you it's African Expressions Love, but that you can at least see the colors okay. And this is 78% mohair, 13% wool, and 9% nylon. And 50 grams gives you approximately 100 meters. So it's the same thickness as Alafoslupi, if you know that yarn. But this is a very different kind of yarn. It's a mohair, so it's not as thick, but the halo of the mohair kind of creates the same kind of thick garment, just a lot softer. And I am using some Effect sparkly yarn with two of the colors. I'm using gold with the yellow and then a rust with the brown to kind of give it a little bit of sparkly interest to the garment. So since last time I have gotten a little bit of progress into it. I've split for the front and back, and I am now doing the chart to finish up the back of the sweater, and then I will do the front and then the sleeves. It knits up really quickly because it is on big needles, but I don't enjoy purling with color work, so it's not what I gravitate towards the most, but I do want to finish up that section so I can get onto the sleeves, and then this will be a ready Christmas gift, because I don't know about you, but I feel like this month just flew by so quickly. So I need to get knitting. Now that we finished up a lot of the things we wanted to do with the house, painting, sanding down the floors and stairs, and then treating those, we're pretty much done with most of the things inside the house. We still need some more furniture, but that's an ongoing progress. So I think I have some more knitting time coming up. I have, let's see, I've made some progress on my Shifty sweater, and now everything is unraveling. This is a sweater by Andrea Mowry. You can go back to previous episodes for more information about this, but I have done a lot of alterations to the pattern to make it fit me because my gauge was a lot looser than hers. So I've gone down in size and needle size and stitch count for the last increased row, and then I have a different ratio between the body and arm stitches, so I have more stitches on the arm than the body ratio wise. And I have finished the sleeves. It's 3/4 length sleeves. I did one extra blip section because I have long sleeves, so now this is a 3/4 sleeve on me. And I'm currently working on the body of the sweater. And throughout the whole sweater I used spin cycle dyed in the wool for the background in the color Grumpy Birds. And for the contrast I decided to use only one color instead of 3 different ones. And I've been using the Nocturne from Spin Cycle in their brown sugar. I ran out of that yarn, but I've been kind of pulling out green sections from my Grumpy Birds. So that's what I'm using for the last end of the body, just to make it a bit longer. And it's not super visible that it's a different kind of green because everything is sort of color changing. So this is coming to an end soon. I'm gonna try it on and see how much more I want to do on the body before doing a ribbing. And I'm thinking if I run out of green, what I can do is just make a longer rib section to make it long enough, because I have enough of the Grumpy Birds colorway. So that's my plan for this one. I tried it on before I knit on the body, so after I had separated for the sleeves, and it looks really nice. So I hope it still looks nice when I'm done with it, and then I'm gonna be really excited for this. The colors definitely speak to me. So I think this is going to be a nice, pretty sweater. It's not super warm because it's, I don't think the yarn is non-superwash, so it's not as warm as it would be if it wasn't. But it's a really lovely, beautiful yarn, and I think I'm gonna love the result. At least I hope, because it's been a lot of brain power to alternate different segments, to get the green out, the modifications, the pattern, to make it fit. So I really hope it fits. So that was my Shifty. I have gotten a little bit of progress done on a blanket for my, no, it's not this bag, for my friend and colleague, so I hope she's not watching. She's having a baby, and I had some yarn that I wanted to use for a baby blanket for her. So I have gotten a bit more done since last time. I think I was maybe here the last time I showed it. It's not the fastest knit, even though it's garter, because the yarn tends to split a little bit, so I can't just knit speedy. I have to make sure that I don't split the yarn, because that just wouldn't look as nice. I'm doing an I-cord edge, which is created by slipping the last 3 stitches purlwise with the yarn held in front, and I do that with the last 3 stitches on each row I knit. And when you start the row, you just knit, and it creates a really nice sort of I-cord looking edge. You could do 2 or 3 or 4 stitches. I'm doing 3 stitches, and I'm liking how it looks. And I'm using a yarn called Adore from Gjesdal. It's a commercial Norwegian yarn that you can get in any, not any, but you can get them in certain grocery stores. So that's one mindless-ish knitting project that I'm working on. I am also working on another one. I have a lot of cotton in my stash that I bought from an outlet. So I had this yarn, which is a sort of fingering weight yarn from Sandnesgarn. It's called Mandarine Petite. And I'm holding this yarn double to create a thicker fabric. And I'm knitting on a towel for the kitchen, like a dishwash towel, or to have it hanging on the oven, the front panel of the oven. And I just cast on what looked like enough stitches for me, and then I started knitting in, I think it's small stitch, knit 1, purl 1, and then you do the opposite above it, so it's always knit over purl and purl over knit. And I'm again doing the I-cord looking edging. This time I'm only slipping the last 2 stitches, and I think it looks great. It works for this. So here I'm just knitting until I think it's long enough, and then this is gonna get washed and then used in the kitchen here in the new house. I've already made quite thick square ones that I use for taking things out of the oven, and I use the same color, so it's gonna match. And this is going quite quickly. I'm using 4mm needles on this. My purling is slower than my knit stitch, but not a lot. When I started this podcast, I was knitting on this huge blanket in a light fingering weight yarn on 3mm needles in moss stitch, so knit purl. I knit on that for over a year. That was a huge time investment, but that really helped with speeding up my purling and switching from knitting to purling. So it was a great way of getting over my hatred of the purl stitch. So now I don't hate it anymore. I prefer knitting the knit stitch, but purl stitch is not as bad anymore as it used to be. Also, I knit continental, and I purl, do the Norwegian purl. A lot of people call it that. I'm sure other people purl this way as well. But I know it's been called that. I have 2 videos on my YouTube channel that are not podcasts, and that's just some short videos showing how I do knit stitch and how I do my purl stitch, if anyone's interested. I have a new whip/hoe. I'm working on my Christmas gifts. I've been going through my yarn stash, finding yarn that I have intended to knit gifts with, and this was one of those yarns that no longer have a label, but it's one of those self-striping commercial yarns that are definitely enough for a men's pair of socks, but I think it'll also be enough for a pair of socks for me once I'm done. So I cast on 56 stitches. I followed my Mohairias pattern, which is my vanilla sock with the heel construction that my grandmother taught me. I use the old Norwegian cast on or German cast on because it's a very stretchy cast on, and also I like the way it looks. After the cuff, I often decrease a few stitches just to not have it as cinched in at the top. Enough room for the leg, but still not too big here. So I think I decreased 6 stitches here. So I had 50 stitches for this yarn. I did the heel and the gusset and made my boyfriend try it on. So it should be big enough for a men's size. So this will be a gift. I'm not loving this yarn. I'm definitely more into the equal stripes. I'm not loving this whole thing happening. But yeah, so I don't think I'll be getting this self-striping commercial yarn again, but it is really nice to knit with. I'm knitting it on 3.5mm needles. It's flying off the needles, so it is a quick-ish gift knit. On the second sock, I'm working on the foot, and soon I'll be able to do the toe, and then I'll have a Christmas gift ready. And I have one more new whip to show you, but first we need to have a drink. Still warm. So I had received some lovely yarn. I'm not sure I talked about it on the last episode. I don't think so. So I swapped some spin cycle yarn that I got that it just wasn't the right color for me. And very, very generously, she also sent me some delicious peace fleece yarn that I've heard so many great things about. This is an American yarn, but I have never tried it. I can't really get it here. She sent me, and this was out of the blue, I had no idea. She sent me 4 skeins of this yarn to try because she was curious what I thought about this American non-superwash yarn. So I can show you the 4 colors. Let's see. So these are the 4 colors of the peace fleece that she sent to me. And there were some information on the ball band of this yarn, which I thought was a really great thing. So peace fleece, if you didn't know, it's an American yarn made in the US, and they call it wool with purpose. It's 75% Navajo Rambouillet and domestic fine wool mixed with 25% of mohair. And one skein is approximately 200 yards, and that's 113 grams, it says here. And it's unwashed in the skein, so it will fluff up a lot. And they work to support pastoral communities that have been historically in conflict with the US. So currently they're working with the Navajo to offer fair market prices for their Rambouillet sheep wool, which are raised by families in the Navajo Nation. And then it's blended with domestic fine wool and mohair to give it more strength. And I thought that was a really nice thing. And honestly, I've loved knitting with this yarn so much. I highly recommend it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it is once it's washed and how it is to wear. I don't have enough arms to show you the yarn and the sweater, but I did research online and I saw that it would not be enough to make a sweater with 4 skeins of piece fleece. So I had a look in my stash to see if I had yarn that could work with it. And I had this lovely Canadian yarn. And this is Custom Woolen Mills mule spinner yarns, 100% natural wool, processed and grown in Canada. And this had the same meterage and yarn weight, so it worked out really well. And I had more than 1 skein of this, so I knew I could get a sweater out of it if I just used my creativity. So I did a turtleneck construction. So this is not a pattern, this is something that I make up as I'm going. So I did a long turtleneck in the mule spinner yarns, and I am contemplating sewing it down so that it stays the way that I want it to stay once I'm done. And then I decided to do stripes with the 4 piece fleece colors and the mule spinner yarn, so that it looks, I think that this looks like a lot of fun. It's giving me sort of a 70s vibe. I did 4 sections of increases for the yoke, and then I split for body and sleeves. I am not doing decreases because I like big open sleeves. And I've been alternating between the sleeves and body to make sure that I use the yarn to the full extent to get a nice sweater out of it. And my plan is, once I run out of the piece fleece, to switch to the mule spinner yarns and do ribbing. I could do a long ribbing for the body, I could do long ribbing for the sleeves. There are different options. I haven't decided yet, but that's what I'm doing. And for the stripes, I do 8 rows of each color and then I change. And I've been doing the change in the back of the sweater. I didn't bother doing jogless stripes because I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to my knitting. I just enjoy the process, and then I'm not too strict with myself. And that brings me a lot more joy out of it than when I try to be a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to a lot of other things in my life, so knitting needs to be relaxing and fun for me and creative. So mistakes are forgiven quite a lot when it comes to my knitting. I know knitters are very different when it comes to that. But it's gonna be a really warm and lovely sweater. I can't wait to wear this. And I think this is what I'm gonna be working on this weekend because I want to have it done. So that was all of my whips. If you don't count all the rooms that I've painted and all the work I've done in the house and moving. But I do have some acquisitions to show you. Some I've bought and some I've been gifted, including this one, I guess. This is also an acquisition since last time. If that's not your cup of tea, that's totally fine. I will see you next time. If you do enjoy acquisitions like I do, then stay tuned for that. So maybe we can start with what I have bought since last time. It's not a lot because I've been saving up money for furniture and moving, but before we moved, there was a sale at the local yarn store and I couldn't help myself. So I don't know if you know Laura. Laura is another podcaster. She has the podcast Penrose Knits. She is quite the new knitter, but she's already started designing, and I've had my eye out for one of her sock patterns. I've come to realize that when it comes to socks, vanilla socks are mostly my jam, because that helps me with the second sock syndrome, that it goes a bit quicker. But she has this new pattern out. It's called the Lovely Anna socks, and it's a beautiful, simple colorwork sock. And I have not made a lot of colorwork socks. I've done some traditional Norwegian ones and self-striping socks, but that's not really colorwork. But I really want to try her pattern. So I got these 3 colors, which I think pretty much sums up what I like. They're very earthy tones, autumnal, warm. And this is the recommended pattern yarn, or the recommended yarn for her sock pattern. It's the Filcolana Arvetta, which is 80% superwash merino wool and 20% nylon. So it's a great sock yarn. And I believe if I make a pair of socks with this, there will be enough yarn to make another pair of socks. Out of what I've heard from other people who have knit them, just switch the contrast heel, cuff and toe and it should be fine. So I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't decided which color is going to be the contrasting color. I will have to have a look at the pattern and decide, but I think this is going to be a really nice attempt at colorwork socks. So I will see when I get around to that. And there were so many lovely colors in this yarn. I have knitted with this yarn before for some hats, but then mostly in beige, off-white, very neutral colors. And my skin also kind of has that color, especially in the winter. So I've been wanting to knit up some hats in a more bold color. So I saw this green, which is the color 147. I can tell you the other colors. The brown is 352, the golden is 136, and the green for that one, which is different to this, is 105. So I've knit the Oslo hat by Petite Knit. I really like that look of that hat. I usually make the junior size because I have a small head, and I also usually make it shorter because I don't like the condom looking look of hats. I like them to be more like a snug beanie. So I'm going to make the mohair version together. So this is a Filcolana telja and Filcolana Arvetta. It's the recommended yarn in the pattern. But then I also really like the regular Oslo hat from hers. I've knit that one, again in a neutral beigey color. So I saw this red color, and I was thinking this one is going to be great for skiing in the winter. Because if you fall and break something or you get lost, it's nice to have a piece of very bright clothing so that people can find you in the snow, and this color will really stand out. So I think I'm gonna make the regular Oslo hat in this very bright red. It's the color 138. So that was some acquisitions that I got. And I received a parcel from a podcaster and dyer that I've been watching since before I started podcasting. She's one of my favorites. Her name is Emma. You might know her as Woolly Mammoth, and she's from Ireland. And she dyes yarn plant-based. So she uses natural dyes. And I've been trying to get her yarn for a very long time. I really wanted to get her autumnal kit where she also included a ceramic mug, which is very much my aesthetic. And I knew that the fall colors would be right up my alley, but even though I was right there when she released it, I didn't manage to get it. But she very generously sent me 2 skeins of her new yarn base to try. This is her hearth sock. Do you pronounce it hearth? This is her hearth sock, which is her new sock base. It contains 330 meters per 100 grams. It's 50% Jacob and 50% BFL wool. And it's sourced, spun and made in the UK. She's very, she pays detail, or she tries to get fiber locally and do it as locally as possible, which is very nature friendly and great. And I'm very grateful that she shipped this all the way to Norway for me to try. So this color, let's see, one of them had a name. This color is called Rust 2, and this one does not. I'm wondering if this might be an undyed version. Emma, if you do see this, you can correct me, because this one didn't have a label of the color. But I think they are really, really beautiful. I haven't quite decided if I want to use them together so that I have a contrasting heel or toe, do stripes, or if I want to make a pair of socks in this and then a pair of socks in this. I'm struggling a bit to decide, but they are beautiful. They look like a fingering weight. I guess they're slightly thicker than a fingering weight, being 330 meters, because a typical fingering weight yarn is 400 meters per 100 grams. So, and I think, I'm not going to speculate, but one of these fibers, probably the Jacob, makes it more sturdy and durable. So I'm looking forward to knitting up some socks and see how they wear. The colors are stunning. This Rust 2 looks almost pinkish. It looks quite accurate on how you see it on camera. And this is like a very nice warm gray. So yes, thank you, Emma, so much. You should check her out if you haven't heard about her. Her podcast is lovely and she has some beautiful yarns if you can get your hands on them. And then I received a parcel today, which was a very nice way to go home from work, to go to the post office and pick up a parcel. So this, I can do like this, box was so pretty that I wanted to show it to you. Just holding over the label. This was a lovely parcel sent to me by Carrie from Australia. She asked me if she could send me a little appreciation, and I said there's not necessary at all, but I would love to try some Australian yarn because she's from Australia and she wanted to send me some local Australian yarn. I actually don't know if it's local to her, but it's definitely the right country. And I've never tried Australian yarn before, so I was really excited to see what she would send. And she definitely hit the jackpot when it came to colors. How beautiful is this? So this is a colorway that's called Outlast. See if you can see the label. It's all blown up. I'm so sorry, it's all blown up. Maybe you can see. So this is black wattle yarn and fiber, and the base is wattle 4-ply, and it's 100% alpaca, I believe. Yeah, it's approximately 100 grams of 350 meters, 100% Australian alpaca. And yes, I did say the colorway Outlast. So it's this beautiful rust color with pinks, yellows, green, blues, black. Really nice instrument. Really nice colors, not instrument. Really nice colors. And it feels really nice and soft. I didn't think this was alpaca when I first felt it. I thought it was like a merino or a kind of different kind of fingering weight yarn. It feels really smooth. It doesn't have a lot of fiber sticking out, which I find a lot of alpaca do. It has like a lot of fluff or long fibers sticking out. But maybe this is a different kind of alpaca breed, or maybe it's younger alpacas, I'm not sure, but it feels really lovely. It has a nice shine to it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this knits up. I'm not sure what to make with it yet. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. I have approximately 700 meters of this. It could make a nice ranunculus. We shall see. She also sent me this really lovely notebook, which I think I might use for the podcast, or maybe to keep track of my stash or knitting. I did used to keep track of my stash on Ravelry, but with how much I knit and buy and acquire yarn, it was just too much work for me to keep that updated. And then she also sent me this, which is a beautiful reusable shopping bag, and I'm loving this, what do you call them? This bird. I love this bird and this color, and I'm actually thinking, even though this is a reusable shopping bag, I might also wear it to work, because I always have a bag with my essential things when I go to work, and this would be a very nice pop of color to my white uniform. So we shall see. So thank you so much, Carrie. That was very sweet of you. I'm looking forward to trying the yarn. I have one last acquisition to show. If you followed me before, you know that I'm an affiliate member of Knit Crate. So every month they send me 2 skeins of yarn. It's their monthly club, and they send this yarn to me for free. And then I have a code that you can use. It's Knittingtraditions. I think I'll put it in the description box below, but it's a discount code you can use at Knit Crate to get, I think it's 20% off, if I'm not mistaken. And I also have an affiliate link. If you click on that link, that doesn't cost you anything, but if you do buy something, I get a small amount of money from Knit Crate, so I just want to make that clear. Don't have to buy anything at all. I just really enjoy their concept, and I don't know what color I get every month. I can do a preview to see what colors there are and what yarn it is, but I can't choose the color. It's a surprise. And I always get 2 skeins. I'm not in the sock club, that's also a possibility. I'm in the knit and crochet club. So this month, this was the Mellow by Knit Crate. I'm wondering if this is the June or July yarn, or I guess the shipping is has quite the lag coming to Norway, so I get the yarn months later than the crate was from. So I've lost a bit of track. But this yarn is the Mellow, and it's a bulky weight yarn. It's approximately 114 meters per 100 grams, and 80% huacaya, alpaca, I'm sorry if I butchered that, and 20% tencel. And it feels really, really nice and soft. I always think alpaca feels really nice and soft in my hands, but not always next to my neck. So maybe I'll make some mittens with this, or I could do something stripy or colorwork if I have enough bulky at some point. This again is similar weight to the alpha which I do have some in my stash. And the alpha is more scratchy, so this would be a nice thing to have in more sensitive areas if I were to pair them for a garment. So maybe that's something I will do. We shall see. But yes, thank you so much, Knit Crate, for sending me these yarns to try. The last 3 months I've been getting very similar colors. I think maybe they know what I like, or it's probably just a coincidence, but these are other skeins that I've gotten from them, so they are similar in color. This one I'm really looking forward to knitting up with. This was the April or March, I think, the Bloom base, which is a chained yarn, and I'm thinking of making one of those necks, or the, what do you call them, like one of those dickies that you have underneath your coat. It looks like you have a knitted sweater, but it's just a dickie. I think that would look really lovely with this yarn. So yes, that was all of my acquisitions. It's all of what I've been knitting on. And yeah, I don't think there's much more to say. I'm still working on organizing this room. So this glass cabinet I have a lot of skeins in them, but I really do want to cake them up, because sometimes I want to start a project and I want to use that yarn, but it's not caked up, and then I have to go soon. I don't have time to set up my caking station, which I now have. I bought this old vintage desk, and I have like a nice system now to cake up. But I wanted to have them ready to go, so that if I'm going somewhere and I want to bring a new project, I can just grab the skeins and my needle case, and then I'm good to go. So that's what I'm working on currently. Usually I store all of my yarn in sealed plastic bags or plastic containers, because I don't want to get bugs like moths. Moths don't eat wool, but their larvae do. So I really don't want to get that. I use a lot of lavender in this room because they don't like that scent, and I have some cedar balls in my stash. They could technically get into this cabinet because it's not airtight, but I'm hoping that by putting a lot of lavender scents and sachets and things into it, they're not gonna love it. And if I just knit fast enough and keep moving things, then that's also gonna help, because they don't like to be in places where there's movement. And also I don't plan on opening the windows to this room, and probably keep the door closed as well, so nothing can really get in here unless I mess up. So it should be fine. If not, I could freeze everything. I need a bigger freezer, several bigger freezers then, or I could do it in turns, but it should be fine. I haven't had any moth problems since I moved back to Norway. I see a lot of them outside, but I've been really careful to not let them into the house. So we should be good, I hope. I really don't like bugs, and I especially don't want them in my precious stash. Alright, so I think that's everything I have to say today. I plan on going up to the cabin. I found some chairs for the living room at a store up there. I could buy them online, but they were actually cheaper in the store, so I plan to go to the cabin this weekend with my cousin and getting those chairs. Hopefully I can fit them all in my car, because right now we don't have a living room. We have a living room, but we don't have furniture, so that's something I really want to get in order soon, so we can make food and not eat on the couch, even though the laziness in us really do enjoy that. But it would be nice to sit and eat at a proper table like adults, because apparently we're adults now. So yeah, that's all for today. I hope to see you soon. Not as long as it's been. I don't even know how long it's been, but I hope to see you soon. And that you're staying safe and well and enjoying your fall month. And I will see you. Bye!